am the owner and lead organizer of Space by Space Organizing and a proud organization member of Reuse. I really love to tell people that I'm a member of Reuse. I think it adds a lot of credibility to the fact that I care about this topic, but just investing in the organization, I think, is an important thing as well. But today, I'm actually reusing a presentation that I created thanks to Reuse. In October, I exhibited at last year's conference, and I met Katie, who runs Impact Hub MSP. And I was telling her about this idea for Purge Treasures. And she said, well, we should get you into this social entrepreneur incubator program. And so thanks to the conference, I spent 10 weeks in an incubator run by MSP Impact Hub, funded by Elevate Hennepin, which is a great organization and initiative for Hennepin County entrepreneurs. So if you want to talk about that, I've used Elevate Hennepin quite a bit. But I came up with this pitch deck for the group. And as I was thinking, what should I do for today, I thought I will bring that pitch. And really my point of doing this is to share more about this idea, but then if anybody wants to talk to me or has an idea or anything, I would love for this conversation to inspire you to tell me this already exists in this way, or you should know this person or whatnot. So Purge Treasures is a decluttering pickup and redistribution service to ensure one man's treasures don't become all of our trash. So I'm a home organizer. I go into people's houses and I make them nice and tidy. And someone once said, I'd love to organize my house, but I worry it's all going to go into a landfill. And then their spouse said, well, I'm worried that our house is becoming the landfill. So it's kind of that space between making your house not the landfill and not letting it into the landfill. So, da-dum's my, yeah. I can come up with next slide, but I just thought da-dum was classier. So it's from a pitch deck perspective. So in America, we overconsume. This says that Americans on average consume 14 tons per year, and the global average is 8 tons. So that's not a new concept that we buy a lot in this country. And we purge our overconsumption. Insert home organizing industry here. We are professional purgers for people. We help them through that emotional process, and then we make their stuff look a ton better behind the scenes or afterward. But we, as the average American consumer, buy 60% more clothing than they did in 2000, and they keep each piece for half as long. And that's not just about preference and being marketed new clothing. It's the quality of what's being created, we all know. And so, thrift stores aren't accepting or, putting clothes on the shelves that they maybe would have 5-10 years ago, just because people know that the life cycle of our clothes, people who are making it with less quality. So there's more holes on average in things that were the same brand, but 10 years ago were made better. And then we waste our overconsumption. So Americans throw away approximately 81 pounds of clothing per person each year, 26 billion pounds of textile waste annually. So there's just a lot of waste. And my industry, which is all about a home organizer's job, is really to care about how we leave your house. It's not to care about what happens to the stuff that leaves your house. So continuing on. Da-dum. About me, because that's what you do in a pitch deck. I'm a professional organizer. I say I'm a world traveling homebody. So I got a master's from Humphrey School at the U of M in international development, and I've cared a lot about global issues. I say that I'm trained to solve third world problems, but now I solve first world ones. You don't call it the third world, you call it the developing world. But I do spend a lot of my time focusing on optimizing drawer space and things that are a little more first world problems. And I'm also an aunt and a social entrepreneur. I care a lot about what happens to the world that we live in. And so doing this organizing is like so much fun for me. I love getting paid to solve puzzles inside of people's houses. I love to create efficiency. I love to like every client, every family, every home is its own. I never do the same thing twice. I am constantly like, wow, that's what I got to do today, and that was working. But this industry, I think, exists because of our overconsumption. I think we glamorize overconsumption. There is a lot of organizer accounts, and if you want to go to my website and see I know what I'm doing, or if you want to go to Instagram, see I know what I'm doing, I do. But like, there are people out there who will probably go buy more snacks than they'll ever consume just so that the pantry can look like a rainbow. So it's like, I'm very aware, and it bothers me when I show up at these organizer conferences. And it really is about, it's like glamorizing abundance and overconsumption to like a nauseating point. And I'm sitting there like, well, what can we do with this? So moving forward, good job, Emily. Oh, a little more about me. I'm also the daughter of a funeral business owner and a thrift shop lover. Da-dum. This cartoon has always inspired me. And well before I started my business, but it's a son and father standing, and the father is with his little walker, standing in front of a garage full of things that you shouldn't say when a child's in the room, but full of just junk, or maybe some treasures amidst it. But he says, son, one day all this will be yours. And that's like such a problem. And then this is me in a hat from who knows where, and you can kind of see my neighbor behind the scenes, who is a son who inherited last year when his 97-year-old mother died, much more than a garage that looked like that, but a house. We call it the H word to be sensitive. We say excessive collecting, but it's hoarding. And I think take the upbringing of being raised around death, with the funeral business being like such a backbone to my life, my first jobs being in a funeral business, and just a very aware sense that everybody in this room will not be here one day. I hope it's of old age and happiness, but you never know when your last day is going to be. And there is so much stuff left behind. And I really think that like organizing with the end in mind, there's this concept of Swedish death cleaning. There's like a lot that I'm really interested in helping people get out of their own way to live life unique to them, have a home unique to them. So like every client I go to, like it's such a unique experience, and I'm there for their goals. And what my goal is to help them live better, you know? And if being surrounded by a bunch of stuff that makes them happy is part of that, I am so happy to organize all of that stuff. And if getting rid of a bunch of stuff is what they need to make them happy, I'm so happy to help them do that. But I think for me, it's a really important and like a guiding principle around the fact that no matter how much money people have died with, nobody was able to take their stuff with them wherever they went. It all stayed behind. So I think I say, no, there's something in there that says leave a legacy, not a burden. But it's like we really burden ourselves with our stuff in this life, and then we burden others in our death. But then there is still a lot of value in that stuff. So in here with my neighbor, we did like 8 estate sales. And if you could see this, it's a room full of stuff. Then I'm at the donation drops. Then I'm at the cardboard center and bringing things to the recycling center for cardboard. You know, going through a person's life, whether they're living or past, is just like a lot of stuff. And it's also like a lot of emotional baggage, whether you're living or past or the person is living or past, because there's just a lot. If anybody knows any other humans, you probably know what I'm talking about. Moving on to the decluttering process. So these are pictures of my car. I don't know if you can see them, but like a ton of products. So a traditional client for me that's not an estate clear out, an estate sale, is like me bringing a carload of containers. And I'm like playing Tetris within my carload to pack the amount of containers that I need to come and like really organize people's things, so that what I value is shopping their own closet, you know, being able to go into someone's space, make their closet feel like a store to them, you know. And I'm not talking like I got labels and stuff. It's just putting things in a way that like is a human-centered approach to how you change. Like I will go into your room and be like, so where do you put your underwear on? And like, do you take the towel to your closet? Like we get really, I love my job because it's super duper fun and different. And I get to see people's messiness, and that's the fun of life. But with what we leave behind for people, what's really validating for me is if I go back to a client like months later to do a different part of the house, and I'm like, oh, should we start where we finished before just to kind of tidy up? They're like, no, I think we'll just start in the kitchen this time. And I go back and they really have used the system that I put in place. And, labels help. And if anybody has messy homes, happy to give you my card. But there's just ways to do things with your stuff. And I think it's a spatial intelligence. I really do think that there's a gift to be able to make a better sense of stuff. But there's a way, like I say, I prove my worth to you when you don't buy batteries when you need them. There's so many times that people will go and buy something quick instead of just looking for it. And so that consumption, oh, if I just go on Amazon, it'll be here by the time I wake up, and it's midnight, I'm in bed, and it'll literally be here by 4 a.m. instead of being like, it'll take me 4 hours to find that certain screwdriver. So having an organized home, there's value in not overbuying because you know what you have. But in the process, I think it's next. Yeah, so this is just like things you can't read. So I'll just let you know what Purge Treasures is about to me. So I have this vision of creating like a network based. I think the next slide might have like a cute image and nope. Okay. Just the next slide, we'll just put an image instead of a bunch of stuff. Okay, like I think of like an app. You can see maps. So as an organizer and with this organizing industry, a lot of organizers who want to have an offering for organizers have created like consulting or here's how to bring on employees or something. But I haven't seen any organizer create like a product that we could use, like a service thing. I envision seeing an app that would be like, I am in the middle of somebody's living room and I have this unique item and I know it has value to someone, not to them anymore, but where do I bring it? And I know myself, like my favorite places to donate within the Twin Cities. But what I constantly hear from people is it's a burden to find the right place to donate, or their drop-off hours aren't convenient. I can attest to that. Like I love to go to Sharing and Caring Hands downtown. They close at 3. When am I out of somebody's house at 3? I don't have children. I have an SUV. I can keep something in my car for a little bit longer, but some organizers, they just have to go, they've got to pick up their kids at a certain time and the kid needs a place to sit in the car. They can't, they'll be wherever they are to wherever they're going home. What's the goodwill in between? And I am not anti-goodwill. There are a lot of anti-goodwill people out there. I think every one of these places has pros and cons, and I support them all. But that means that all of this stuff of value, like maybe half of it's not actually of donation value to Goodwill. Like they won't resell it based on what they take. So it's like, I see carloads of stuff leave people's houses and so much value, and they're paying me to take it away, like to actually go through it with them and take it away. But they don't care what happens to it in between. They just want it gone. That's where their value ends. But if I see Purged Treasures as like a service to the organizers out there, so that anybody who has their home professionally organized by these different Purged Treasures organizers, and they're not mine, they could be like, oh, this is a Valerie of Valerie Organizes, and this is the Neat Method, and this is, the Home Edit. These different brands of organizers out there could have like a paid pickup service where Purged Treasures would take the stuff that comes out of an organized home and help to make sure it actually gets used again. So those other slides that have lots of words and stuff were just like, some of it could be resold, it doesn't matter. Some of it could be resold, some of it would be more properly donated. Like I love the idea of an October swap. I love the swaps. I want to work with you on those. Find me a person who's going to go through their holiday stuff in October. Like that's tough. I've thought about offering all of my clients, like saying like, hey, October special, let's go through your stuff. And then we'll have like a market for it in November. And then we donate it to people in a time that they'll actually use it. But I know from working with humans, they're going through their stuff like the night before they're hosting. You know, it's not incentivized to go through their stuff so often. So to me, it's like we're up against that with some stuff because then and then everyone has 3 holiday bins that come out, they look at it, I'll deal with it next year. But I am so overwhelmed with my life right now, a week before Christmas, I don't have time. So it's like, I would love to create this like intermediary redistribution effort that is so much more thoughtful than what we currently have. And that's what I am here for. So I believe that's it. There might be like a thing that says my number. Database, okay, database. So like my app has a database, and I think that there are the organizers that you can work with, and then there are all the donation managers, because there are all of these awesome organizations. But I also envision, I was talking to someone about like a big warehouse. Like I took on a warehouse space this year to be able to take on state projects, and then also not have my own house turned into the Container Store with what I'm bringing to people. Container Store is super overpriced. It would be like the Target Bright Room line and Home Goods, but the Container Store has some things that I buy. So like I envision this huge space where we could wash clothes so that things are actually laundered before they're donated to people who maybe, if they're in need of a donation, they don't have like an abundance of time to sit and re-launder things. Like be able to get a critical mass of items. Like today I brought in 3 laptops that came from clients. I've been hanging on to those 3 laptops for a while because it's not super convenient for me to find the time to come and donate them to the right place. So I see this missing piece in the market, and I see so much waste, and there's books about it. Adam Minter wrote a book, Secondhand. He's a local guy. It's a good book. I'm about halfway through, like I am with most books I start. But in this first half, there's a lot of good info. And it's like about what happens to your stuff after it's dropped off at some of these donation sites. And like, there is such a feel good, oh, I got rid of this. Like it'll go to someone who needs it. And like, that's just, you feel so much better than that thing it's not the truth, And so it's like finding a way, and I think this community is one that is the right people to be connecting with, but having like a much easier way to figure out how can this item that I have that's no longer a value be of value somewhere else, and like who's using it. How can we create like a critical mass of art supplies so that at the right time of the year we can donate it to the proper place that doesn't want 2 sets of colored pencils, but now I've collected enough colored pencils that I have 100 classroom sets, so like things like this, because there is so much excess and abundance out there, and there is so much need, and it's like just creating the right matches and the right way of like knowing what people need. Like bridging, you only need can openers. Like give me 10 things you need, like maybe I don't have can openers this month, but I do, like being able to go and like search by item, search by zip code. Like if I'm in somebody's house 30 minutes from my house, I don't know that there's a church around the corner that hosts people every weekend. And if I brought a bed or a mattress, or if I had this thing, they would use it. So like, I just envision a world where we have a much easier way of getting the excess to the scarcity. So like I envision like organizers, you know, once this is up and running, you don't say if, you say when. When I have this, I envision purple containers and black containers with serial numbers that is like my organized Purge Treasure organizer, affiliate organizer would go into a house with these containers. There's trash bags for traditional trash, but like purple containers would be anything that could have a next life. And black would be more trash that's like an electronic, a hazardous waste item, because that often too, when you're purging, when you're cleaning out a space, like you get a lot of cords, you get a lot of things that like they do have places like this morning's tour show you will properly dispose of. But when someone's on site and they're just trying to make a good amount of money to put someone's house back together, they're not like, let me take these 10 cords and then I'll properly dispose of them. But if I had someone have a bin, part of my service would be, and we're going to sort the unique trash to make sure that it goes to the right places so that we're not, I mean, this business is so wasteful, but it's because we are. And on that note, but if you have an abundance of stuff that you would love to be made sense of, or not, it's not just a bougie luxury service. If you just need sense brought into your life, home organizing is, you can do a lot with no new bin.